What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Christian J Show. So today, it's the season 4 premiere. It is. It's season 4 premiere. We are starting a brand new season, brand new theme. So sit back, listen, and enjoy. So I have my little script here because I don't want to get off topic and I want to be accurate and everything. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and get into this. Welcome to the Crime Chronicles, where we dissect the cases that shook the public and challenged the narratives. Today's story is one of the most well-known stories known to man. A story about wealth, violence, trauma, and a decade-long debate. This is the story of the Menendez brothers. And I'm going to say this up front before I get into anything else. I believe they should be free. I'm going to say that again. I believe they should be free. Let's go on now. It was August 20th, 1989. Jose and Kitty Menendez were murdered in their Beverly Hills mansion, shot execution style while watching TV. The scene was brutal. At first, police suspected a mob hit, but suspicion quickly turned to their sons, Lyle, 21, and Erik, 18. In the months that followed, the brothers spent wildly. Rolexes, cars, lavish trips. It looked really bad. But what looked like guilt was, according to their defense, trauma-fueled chaos. The truth unraveled when Erik confessed to his psychologist, whose girlfriend tipped off police that confession that led to their arrest in 1990. Yeah. So if you've seen any of the TV adaptations of the Menendez brothers, you will know that that is true. Erik was speaking to his psychologist. The girlfriend heard him. Mind you, the psychologist was married. Yeah. Mind you, he was married, so adultery. The girlfriend heard. Boom, bam, she went to the police. Now, this is what I always say: be careful who you talk to. Be very careful who you talk to, because, and not trying to say, oh, they shouldn't have told it. He should know his psychiatrist, psychiatrist, whatever the thing is. They killed their parents, but just be careful who you talk to. Just saying. The first trial was in 1993. It was televised and became a media spectacle. The defense argued that the brothers endured years of sexual, emotional, and physical abuse at the hands of their father, Jose. Kitty, their mother, was portrayed as unstable and complicit. The prosecution painted a different picture: two spoiled rich kids who murdered their parents for inheritance. The jury couldn't agree. Hung juries led to a retrial. This time, no cameras, and in 1996, both brothers were convicted on first-degree murder and sentenced to life without parole. Now, you have the defense and the prosecution. This is out of public at this point. This is like public opinion. Most people agree with the defense, and most people agree with the prosecution. Me, I agree with the defense. They endured years of sexual, physical, and emotional abuse by their father. Kitty knew what was going on. Kitty knew. You would think as a mother, she would sit up here and be like, you know what? I'm going to put a stop to this. I'm going to get my boys and I'm going to get them the hell up out of here. You would think that's what she did. But no, she didn't do that. She knew what was going on. She knew. Now, I don't condone violence. I mean, honestly, to be honest, I felt like they could have been like a different way. But who knows if they would have did a different way, they would have survived. They would have came after them. If they would have did it a different way, and Jose and Kitty would have survived, they would have came after Lyle and Erik. Especially if Lyle and Erik had fled the country and moved to a different part of the country. Let's say they moved to like Europe or Russia or Asia, China, all over there, London and everybody. Jose would spend the money looking for them. Yeah. And who knows what would have happened if he would have found them. I'm just saying. And my thing is, I never got that point talking about they killed their parents for inheritance. Why would they kill their parents for inheritance? Do you know how many people actually harm their parents just for money? Do you know how many people actually do that? Harm their parents just for money? The boys didn't do that. They didn't do that. They did not harm their parents for money. Years of abuse led by their father. Yeah. Now, here's where things get complicated and personal. The Menendez brothers didn't deny the killings, but they claimed it was out of fear and not greed. They said they were terrified their father would kill them to silence their accusations of abuse. Letters from Erik, written before the murders, described the abuse in detail. Family members later corroborated disturbing patterns, but in the 1990s, the justice system and the public weren't ready to fully believe male victims of sexual abuse, especially when they were also perpetrators of violence. And that's just like it is today. Many people do not believe that men can be sexually abused or sexually harassed. And even when men tell people that I've been sexually abused, been sexually harassed, it's always the same response. Oh, you're a man. Toughen up. No. No, you're not. Just because you're a man doesn't mean that you need to toughen up. That means you need to sit up here and work through everything that you went through. You trying to brush this up on the rug saying, oh, you're a man, toughen up. No, it doesn't work like that. If I was sexually harassed or sexually abused, I would want you to do everything in your power to bring that person to justice. And we all know they wouldn't have believed them anyway, even if they didn't kill the parents. We already know they wouldn't have believed them anyway. First of all, it's the 1990s. They weren't ready for this. They were not ready to hear that men can be sexually abused or sexually harassed. They were ready for that. Like it is today, people are still not ready for male victims who say that they have been sexually abused, sexually harassed, everything, raped and everything. Yes, men can get raped too. They wouldn't have accepted that. They wouldn't have. And then they were terrified that their father would kill them to silence them because the accusations of abuse. So why would they kill their parents out of greed? Yeah, tell me why they would kill their parents out of greed. If they were terrified that their father would kill them if they said something about the abuse. Just say they said something about abuse to their cousin. Then their cousin went back and told his mom or his dad. You know he would find a way to keep their mouths closed. Especially if the police got involved or CPS got involved. He would have found a way to keep their mouths closed. And the fact that people still believe that they're not victims, are you kidding me? People, you still believe that they're not victims? Are you crazy? These boys had to endure so much pain on the hands of their father. And the fact that their mother knew, I don't like her. Because first of all, you knew and you didn't try to sit up here and stop that. You didn't try to sit up and be like, look here, Jose. What you're not gonna do is keep doing this thing to these boys. But no. She was living in a lap of luxury. She had everything ready for her. She had everything, so why would she say anything? Exactly. And the fact that they've talked about this in the trials, because before I made this episode, I went back and looked at the trial videos. I went back and looked at trial videos. And to hear them talk about how they had to squeeze lemon on their food to get the taste of that thing out of their mouth. If you don't know what I'm talking about, man. Man, we have that. We ejaculate that. If you don't get what I'm saying, I'm trying not to say it, but the stuff that comes out of us when we ejaculate. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They had to get the taste of that out of their mouth. They had to use lemon. They had to use lemon. Squeeze it on their food to get that taste out of their mouth. And they said that in the court. And people still think that, oh, they were lying. Go on somewhere. Now, the public opinion, like I said, back then the media mocked them. Saturday Night Live did skits. Now, Saturday Night Live, I wouldn't be joking around. I wouldn't be doing those skits, hee ha ha, at the Menendez Brothers when some of your cast members have had abuse allegations on them, allegedly. I wouldn't be doing all that hee and ha ha, making fun of the Menendez Brothers when some of your cast members got abuse allegations on them, allegedly. Okay, so let's not have no rah rah kiki hee hell moment. No, let's not do that. Don't do too much. Tabloids called them the rich kids who cried abuse. The narrative was simple. They were liars. That's what it was back then. The narrative that everyone painted back then were the Menendez brothers were liars. They were liars. They were rich kids who killed their parents for money. They were rich kids who had everything and then cried wolf. They were rich kids that did, rich kids that did that. Blah 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 blah. But in this last decade, something shifted. Documentaries, interviews, social media, especially TikTok, reframed the brothers as survivors. Gen Z and millennials began asking why the court didn't take their trauma seriously. Why were they sentenced without parole when other killers with far less context get second choices? Second chances, child, excuse me. Ugh. Second chances. I apologize for that little second choices. Second chances. The abuse narrative wasn't a legal tactic, it was the truth. And we're finally listening. I been knew about this abuse. We had a project when I was in 10th grade. I'm not that old. We had a project. And we was in forensic science. We had to learn about like serial killers or just or killers. And I remember they were on the project list. And we had to choose who we wanted to do. Originally I was gonna do them, but somebody already chose them. But I remember I kept reading up about them. I was like, who are the Menendez brothers? Like, who are they? So I've read up on them, and from the instant I read up on that case, I was like, wow, I gotta know more about it. So you know me, I kept reading. Yeah. Now, when we say that the Menendez brothers need to be free, and now speaking to like my generation, Gen Z, whenever we say, well, Gypsy Rose is free, y'all love to say, well, she didn't kill her parents. She didn't who? She didn't do what? Because I knew you ain't talking about Gypsy. I knew you ain't talking about Gypsy Rose. Not Miss Gyp. I knew you ain't talking about her. Because Miss Girl did conspire with somebody to kill her mama. And before you get into bed, like, well, she went through abuse. What did you think the Menendez brothers went through? La La Land? They went through abuse. Sexually, emotional, and physical abuse. Sexual, emotional, and physical abuse. They went through that. So before you be like, well, Gypsy went through abuse. So did the Menendez brothers. But they're still sitting in jail. They're still sitting in maximum security. So why can't she be free? Why can't Casey Anthony be free, but Menendez brothers can't be free? I don't understand that. Why they get to be free, but the Menendez brothers have to stay in there? And then now they released that what it was that they have been they were up for resentencing. The judge denied their resentencing thing. I find that to be it's wrong, basically. It's wrong. Because first of all, no doubt they probably been model prisoners. You can't go base your little opinion off of the TV adaptations of like, oh, well, Ryan Murphy Monsters, the Lyle and Erik Menendez story, they showed where they was trying to break out. Okay, but you can't go off on that. You can't. If it's true, it's not true, I don't know. Well, first of all, why would you base anything off of Ryan Murphy's Monsters, the Lyle and Erik Menendez story? He basically almost like portrayed the brothers as lovers. Really, Ryan? Really? My thing is, there are people who have done far worse than the Menendez brothers. People who have done far worse than them. They could get out. They come back to society. Lyle and Erik ain't gonna be no harm to society. If they do get out, one thing I don't want them to do is get on social media. I don't want to get on TikTok or anything because I know how the public is going to be. The public is going to be divided in three ways. First, you're going to have people saying that they're glad they're free, this, that, the third. They're glad they're home, blah, 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 blah. That's going to be public one. Public two, you're going to have people still skeptical about them. Like, I don't know, should I be happy that you're out because you did kill your parents, but I understand why, but blah, 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 blah. That's public two. Public three, yeah. Public three is going to be the ruthless one. The ones that are going to keep on bringing up their parents. Oh, you shot your parents. Oh, you killed your parents for money. Oh, you did this, you did that. That's public three. They're going to be the ones that keep on bringing up something. That's public three. Nobody wants that. And to be honest, we don't know if they still have nightmares or something about that night. To this day, we don't know they still have nightmares about that. We don't know how their mental health is. We don't know if that's still a traumatic event for them. So why would we want them to get on social media and then they relive that night so much because people are gonna keep bringing it up. I don't know why we want that. Now, let me be clear. Murder is never excusable. But context matters. Lyle and Erik were victims long before they became perpetrators. They were failed by their parents, their community, and ultimately the justice system. Before I finish my whole statement on this, why wasn't this sexual abuse and everything brought up in the second trial? The judge was only focused on that murder part. The judge was only focused on that murder part. He didn't care nothing about the sexual abuse or anything. He was only focused on the murder part. Why? It's crazy, yeah. That's the only part he was focused on. He could care. He could have cared less about the the sexual abuse part. He could care less about that part. He wanted to convict them on that murder charge. That's what he wanted to do. Yeah, because you can't. Because the first trial they had, everything was brought up, from the sexual abuse to the emotional abuse to the physical abuse. Everything was brought up. But that second trial, not an abuse was in sight, because that judge did not care. He cared about the murder charge, and that wasn't right, because if you go and take on a case, you need to listen to every part of the case. I feel like if that judge would have listened to the abuse, everything about the abuse, I feel like they would have gotten a lesser sentence. I feel like they would have got like life with parole. I don't know. They spent over 30 years behind bars, not denying what they did, but explaining why. They've shown remorse, they've educated themselves, they've built lives within prison walls, and they never stopped telling the truth about what happened. If we believe in rehabilitation and the justice that evolves, and listening to survivors, then we have to ask, what purpose does their continued incarceration serve? I believe they should be free, not because they're innocent, but because they were never given the fair chance to be understood. They were never given a fair chance. And you could sit there and argue all day about, oh, well, they killed their parents. Oh, what, they didn't I just say they never denied killing them? They never denied. Mm-mm. I mean, in the beginning, they probably said, well, no, we didn't. It was the mob. But after that, they never denied their parents. They never denied that they killed the parents. They didn't. So my thing is, you only offer support to certain victims, but when other victims come forward and say, well, this happened, and I went through this, you don't offer support to them. It's only pinpointed. It's certain victims. You have a select pool of victims that you want to support and listen to. You have a select pool of survivors you want to listen to. Yeah. The Menendez case isn't just about two brothers. It's about how we treat trauma, how we judge survivors, and how we decide who deserves redemption. Now, thank you for listening to this episode of the Christian J Show, the Crime Chronicles. If this story challenged you, sit with it. If it moved you, share it. And if you believe in second chances, speak up. Until next time, stay curious, stay critical, and never stop asking why.